Tonight, in our coverage, European allies fear for security after the U.S. aligns with Russia at the United Nations. Assalamu alaikum and good evening. This is Muslim News Canada on Muslim Network TV. I'm Elia Batul. Liberal leadership hopefuls have presented their counter-plan against U.S. President Donald Trump's tariff threats yesterday. The candidates clashed in a French-language debate, presenting themselves as the strongest candidate. Former Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland highlighted her experience negotiating trade deals with Trump, pledging to stand firm again. Former Bank of Canada Governor Mark Carney warned that Trump is now more aggressive. Candidates Karina Gold and Frank Baylis emphasized their negotiation skills. Gold cited her experience challenging conservatives in Parliament, while Baylis pointed to his business background dealing with Americans. Carney, the perceived frontrunner, faced scrutiny over his French after a slip-up on Hamas. Carney misspoke, stating that all candidates agreed with Hamas. He then corrected himself to clarify opposition to the group. The debate also covered key policies. 3 candidates vowed to scrap the carbon tax, except Gold. Gold calls it vital for fighting climate change. Baylis took a firm stance against Quebec's Bill 21 and Bill 96, calling them discriminatory. Candidates stressed unity against conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. Freeland said Poilievre must be defeated to protect Canada from Trump's influence. The U.S. president has confirmed that a 25% tariff on most Canadian imports will take effect next week. Trump claims Canada has exploited U.S. trade policies for years and says it's time to act. Speaking at a White House news conference, he said the tariffs are moving along very rapidly and will proceed as scheduled. The decision reverses a previous delay after Prime Minister Justin Trudeau took steps to tighten border security against illegal crossings and drug smuggling. Despite those efforts, Trump announced the tariff pause will be lifted on March 4th. Steel, aluminum, and auto industries will face additional 25% tariffs starting March 12th. The move is expected to hit the Canadian economy hard, making exports less competitive and increasing costs for American consumers. Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly is warning of up to $155 billion in counter tariffs. Economists say the tariffs could trigger a recession in Canada. A senior White House official has dismissed reports suggesting efforts to expel Canada from the Five Eyes intelligence alliance, calling the claims baseless. Peter Navarro, an advisor to U.S. President Donald Trump, has rejected a Financial Times report suggesting the move. The report cites unnamed sources, alleging Trump is advocating for Canada's removal from the intelligence sharing partnership, which also includes the U.S., Britain, Australia, and New Zealand. The Five Eyes Alliance facilitates intelligence sharing among its members, allowing access to highly classified information. Concerns over intelligence security have been raised in recent years. Reports indicate some foreign intelligence officials have limited the information shared with U.S. due to fears of leaks and political misuse. The news comes amid worsening U.S.-Canada relations since Trump took office. Freezing temperatures in Gaza have led to the deaths of 8 people, including 7 children, since early 2025. 5 newborns recently died from exposure as hospitals struggle with an influx of cold-related complications. Dr. Saeed Salah, a hospital director in Gaza, reports that 9 infants have been admitted in the past 2 weeks. He says the patients are mostly from northern Gaza, where displaced families are living in tents after their homes were destroyed. He is urging the international community to send emergency shelter, fuel, and supplies. In the occupied West Bank, Israeli forces have demolished another Palestinian home in Kafr al-Dik, citing permit issues. In Jenin, Israeli bulldozers continue to clear refugee camp areas, resembling destruction seen in Gaza. In January alone, Israel demolished 126 structures, including homes and farms. At least 40,000 Palestinians have been forcibly displaced since the latest military escalation in the West Bank. Diplomatic efforts to revive a prisoner exchange deal are ongoing. Hamas is set to transfer 2 bodies of Israeli soldiers to Egypt in exchange for Israel releasing 301 Palestinian prisoners. Egypt has rejected proposals to displace Palestinians. It warns such moves would undermine the Palestinian cause and destabilize regional security. A truce and prisoner exchange has been in place since last month. It has paused the Israeli genocide that has killed at least 48,350 Palestinians in Gaza. Russia welcomes the U.S. shift on its policy on the Ukraine war. This comes as the United States voted alongside Russia twice at the United Nations yesterday. This marks a significant shift in its stance on Ukraine 3 years after the conflict started. For the first time since the war began, Washington opposed resolutions that condemn Russia and reaffirm Ukraine's territorial integrity. This indicates Trump's new position on the conflict, distancing himself from Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. In the morning session at the General Assembly, the U.S. declined to support a resolution criticizing Russia's invasion. Later, at the Security Council, Washington introduced its own resolution. It then refrained from voting in favor after European allies reworded the text to explicitly blame Russia. Despite this, the U.S. presented the original version of its resolution in the Security Council, where it passed with 10 votes in favor and 5 abstentions, including France, Britain, Denmark, Greece, and Slovenia. The resolution called for a swift end to the conflict, but did not hold Russia accountable. The abstentions by France and Britain were notable, as both nations could have used their veto power. The break between Washington and Kyiv has unsettled European allies who have relied on U.S. security guarantees for decades. European diplomats are expressing concern that Russia and the U.S. could bypass the General Assembly in favor of the Security Council. It could potentially shape future resolutions to fit political negotiations between Trump and Putin. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has reiterated his call for a peace agreement that fully respects Ukraine's territorial integrity. Group PEN Canada has raised concerns over the arrest of political activist Yves Engler. The group is a nonpartisan organization that defends freedom of expression, fights censorship, and supports persecuted writers. It is linking the charges against him to his outspoken views on Israel's war in Gaza. Engler was arrested last Thursday on charges of harassment and obstruction of justice. The Crown alleges he repeatedly called one complainant a genocide supporter and a fascist on social media. The group fears Engler's prosecution could set a dangerous precedent for freedom of expression. The complainant, Dahlia Kurtz, is a Canadian media personality and pro-Israel influencer. The legal firm assisting Kurtz is associated with Neil Oberman, a Conservative Party candidate known for legal action against critics of Israel. Engler maintains that his interactions were public responses to Kurtz's posts and that he never contacted her privately. This is not the first time Engler's activism has put him in the spotlight. He first gained national attention in 2022 after disrupting a speech by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at Concordia University. Engler has been released on bail. He has been ordered to avoid communication with the complainant and is banned from tagging them online. However, he can still post about related topics. He appeared in court yesterday calling the charges politically motivated. Engler is set to return to court on April 25th. Google is updating its classification of Canadian parks on Google Maps following backlash over mislabeling provincial parks as state parks. The issue sparks concerns over sovereignty, especially amid U.S. President's repeated remarks about Canada's sovereignty. While Google says the classification has been in place for some time, users flagged it over the weekend. Canadians have flooded Google with requests to fix the listings. British Columbia's Environment Minister has also urged the company to introduce a provincial park category to better reflect Canada's park system. A Google spokesperson has confirmed that corrections are underway. Experts attribute the mislabeling to cartographic bias. This occurs when mapping systems apply familiar terms like state park as a generic label. It overlooks local classifications such as provincial parks in Canada. However, critics argue that, combined with political rhetoric, such errors fuel concerns over U.S. expansionism. Other mapping platforms, including Bing and TripAdvisor, also misclassify Canadian parks. On the other hand, Apple Maps correctly labels them as provincial parks. That's all from our Toronto studios. Thank you for watching Muslim News Canada. We are a community channel dedicated to bringing you stories you can trust. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content. You can also comment to let us know what you think of our coverage. You can donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV.